Hey Guitar Fam and friends, welcome to this cover song lesson where we're going to take a look at the Marshall Tucker Band song, Can't You See? And this song kind of goes all the way from a very beginner level all the way to up to like almost an upper intermediate level, I would say, because you can choose to just strum the chords, which you only need 3 basic chords and 1 strumming pattern. We can get more progressively involved with the strumming pattern, you know, make it a little more advanced, or you can go to the fingerstyle parts that he's using in here, and I'm going to teach you all of these parts throughout this. So if you're a beginner, we'll start with the chords you need and the strumming patterns. If you're more of an intermediate player and want to learn the song mostly like it's played in the recording, you probably want to skip through. I'll try to put timestamps in here so you can go through to learn the intro exactly as it's written, and some variations on the finger picking pattern as he plays it throughout the song. Now I say variations because he plays every rotation throughout the song differently. So I didn't think you'd want to sit through and watch me, you know, teach you 6 minutes of painstaking variations on this. So what I did is I have the intro written out for you, 8 measures, and then I have 2 variations on the finger picking patterns and some strumming patterns if you're more of a beginner player that will get you through the entire song. You'll be able to start playing it today. Of course, the jam track and tab and chord chart are available for you on guitarfam.com. So if you haven't yet, go to guitarfam.com, create your complimentary account. You'll get access to all that stuff. And even better, you'll get 1 complimentary private one-on-one video lesson with me. Every Guitar Fam member gets that. So take advantage of that and go schedule yours today. Let's get into this. All right, first things first, let's look at the chords that you need to play this song. There are only really 3 chords throughout the whole song, but there's some variations on 2 of them. I'll show all the little variations to you. We're in the key of kind of D mixed Lydian, or you can think of it as just D major with a C and a G in it. So, first chord is just a normal open D major, but you need a D sus4 as well. So put your pinky down on the 3rd fret of the high E string, that'll give you your D sus4. Then you need a D sus2. So instead of just a regular open D, take your middle finger off to play that open high E string, that'll give you your D sus2. Okay? So that move, kind of bouncing back and forth between all 3 of those shapes, is used a lot in the song. Next chord there is just a regular C sus2, or think of it as C add 9, right? Because you have your open C, and then this 4-finger C where you're adding the 9th of the chord here, this D note on the 3rd fret of the B string, and this G on top is just the 5th of the C. So that gives you a C add 9 chord. The first variation on this C, this 4-finger C add 9 chord, is just taking your pinky and first finger off. And I'm leaving the D string out there, and my index finger comes back here to the F sharp. Pretty cool sounding chord, the F sharp on the 2nd fret of the high E string. And you can strum all the strings as long as you're meeting that D string with this finger kind of laying over it. And then the other variation that I use for this one is just taking these 2 fingers off again, 1st and 4th fingers off, and playing that open E. So you're still playing a C add 9, but you have an E on top instead of that G. And again, I'm muting that D string with my middle finger as it lays over it. All right, the last chord is just an open G major. Okay, and you can if you're a beginner, just use a normal D, C, add 9, then a G. And then if you're heading more towards intermediate, use all the other chords and start to see how you can incorporate them. All right, let's take a look at just some basic strumming patterns you can use throughout this song. And we'll get into like the actual finger picking intro here in a minute and some variations on it. But like if you're just getting into this, you know, want to be able to play through the song, just worry about the chord changes and getting these strumming patterns done. We'll look at 3 different ones that are kind of progressive, get progressively harder. First one is just all quarter notes, and just use D for 1 measure, so down, 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 down. Make sure not to hit the E or A strings while you're playing that D. Then move to a C, add 9, and then do the same thing, just for 1 measure, 4 downstrokes, all quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure not to hit the low E string. I'm muting it with my middle finger there, just brushing up against it. And then G for 1 measure, again, all downstrokes. 1, 2, 3, 4 for 1 measure, quarter notes. And then back to D for 1 measure, same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is the entire song. So if you're a beginner, this is an awesome song to jump into a measure of D, measure of C add 9, measure of G, measure of D. Repeat, repeat, repeat throughout the entire song. And you can get more complicated with it as you go along. If you feel like you can take on more of a challenge for the strumming, just use all 8th notes with all downstrokes. So instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4, go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then switch to your C at 9, 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and then switch to your G, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then to your D, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And the important thing is you keep the strumming constant going no matter what. That's your engine, and it just keeps going the entire time. The third level of strumming is kind of the same thing. It has the foundational 8th note strumming pattern, but I'm going to throw in an up on the 1 E and a 2 E and a of 2 and the of 4. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a, then same thing, 3 E and a 4 E and a. So it's a 2-beat strumming pattern, 1 E and a 2 E. That's one measure of D. Now switch to the C at 9 and do the same thing. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and a. Move to the G, same strumming pattern. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 4 and a. Back to D. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 and a. That's a little bit slower than it is, but when you speed it up to the tempo of the song, but you notice my hand just keeps doing that, those 8 notes with downstrokes, da, 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 2 and 3 and 4. And when I do that, my upstrokes are automatically 16th notes. So all I have to do is dig in the right spots on the of 2 and the of 4. So that's kind of your more advanced strumming pattern. And what I'll do in the play along is I'll, like halfway through the play along, and what I'll do is I'll switch to strumming, I'll do the quarter notes, then 8th notes, and then this strumming pattern, and then I'll kind of go free form for the strumming. But it's all based on this 8th note strumming pattern with some upstrokes added into it. So that's what you want to do. If you're just playing through this, getting the chords down and the changes in the strumming, that's what you want to be shooting for. All right, now let's move on to the finger picking, the intro. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you the intro like explicitly, just the first 8 measures, because that's where the guitar is by itself, and then you have the flute solo, you know. And then what I'm going to do is teach you 2 variations on the finger style part, because throughout the entire song, he's just kind of improvising, playing whatever he feels. And if you had to learn the whole thing note for note, every variation he played to it, you would want to shoot me in the face. It would be a lot of work. It'd be very frustrating. So what I would recommend doing is just learning the intro note for note, because it's pretty iconic, and then learn these 2 variations I'm going to show you, and then just mix it up a little bit and play your own versions of like just this 4-bar phrase that repeats over and over again. Sometimes he strums it, sometimes he does a finger picking thing, but the 2 variations are kind of 2 generalizations of what you will hear him do throughout the song. So if you can do these, it's a really good exercise to see if you can come up with variations of your own throughout the song, and then mix in, you know, measures of strumming, because that's what he's going to do. One reason for that is because there are a bunch of instrumental solos throughout this, so he has to kind of vary the playing, get busier, quieter, louder, that kind of stuff. So let's just go ahead and jump into the intro here. I'll play the first measure for you. Okay, this is just a pattern on a D chord that I had to just straight up memorize. So it's thumb on the D string, and let me give you a little bit of a layout here. He uses his thumb a lot during this, and his first and second fingers almost exclusively, I believe, if you go watch the videos of it. So I kind of isolate my index finger on the B string, my middle finger on the high E string to play this. He uses his thumb more than I do. I use my fingers for the strumming, he uses his thumb, but that's just awkward to me. So just take that with a grain of salt. All right, start off with your thumb on the D string. This is the only 8th note in the whole measure. All the rest of the notes are 16th notes. So you have 1 E, and then you have your index finger on the B string, thumb on the G, middle finger on the high E, index finger on the B, back to the D with your thumb, and then your pinky comes down to do a sus4 chord, a D sus4, then middle finger on the high E string, thumb on G string, unsus it, just a normal D, middle finger on the high E string, index finger on the B string, thumb on the D, index finger on the B, thumb on the G, and then middle finger on the high E, and finally end with the A string, because this is prepping you to walk up to the C in the next measure. So I just had to practice this super slowly, and this is probably one of the tougher measures of the intro. From there, you go to a C add 9, and this version of it leaves these two fingers completely off, and I use all the strings but the low E string. But the pattern, little picking pattern at the beginning of it is just A string, D string with the thumb, and then index, middle, index on the B, high E, B, and then back to the D string with your thumb. And then what I do is I put my pinky down and pinch on down on the third fret of the high E string, and then pinch the A, B, and the high E strings, right? And then let off my pinky, play the high E string open, pinch the same 3 strings, and then strum all 5 strings, not leaving out the low E string, twice. So that phrase. One more time, a little faster. And I use my fingers to strum that. He uses his thumb there, so whichever one works best for you. From there, you just go to a normal open G string, and you have the strumming pattern, down, 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 up. So 1 E and a 2 E and and then you have this little lick. And all that is open D string with my thumb, hammer onto the 2nd fret, and then open G string, open D string, I use my thumb there, open G string again, and then 2nd fret of the A string. And that gets me through that measure of G. So I have, one more time, a little slower, 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a. Okay, from there you move to a D chord, and you just play open D string with your thumb on beat 1, so 1, and then on beat 2 you pluck the high E and B strings with these 2 fingers. So and then you have open D string again. Then your pinky comes down to make a D sus4 and pinch the top 2 strings with these 2 fingers. Then back to the open D string, and then again with the top 2 strings, but let off your pinky, just a normal D. And then you have 2 strums, down strums on a normal D. And then you have just the open D string, which is in preparation to get you into the next measure. So that measure, that's the rhythm for it. You may have to count that out or just listen to it a lot. So, okay, and it's kind of leading into the next measure, and this is kind of a theme that occurs throughout the entire song. You have that kind of a thing where you take the top 2 strings of your D, let off with your middle finger to do a C or D sus2, hit the top 2 strings, then hammer on to a normal D, and that's what happens in the next measure. So, and from there, strum down. And then kind of the same thing, open D, string, D sus4, top 2 strings, open D string, regular D, top 2 strings, and then 2 strums on 4 and. Yeah, I'll play this measure of D before that comes around, and then I'll play the first 4 measures for you, this whole intro. So, and it took me a while to figure out how I liked to attack this song as far as the strumming with it, but I ended up just doing brushes down with my fingers. Anyway, let me play the, I'll do the first 5 measures of this intro for you. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, one more time a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, from there we go to a C add 9 again, and I'm just going to I only use the 4 middle strings on this phrase, but I just go ahead and put the whole chord on there, and I just put the C add 9 chord on all 4 fingers, and then pinch the A, G, and B strings, and then strum 4 times. So that's beat 1, 1, and then I have 2 and 3 and on 4 and I have this little 4 E and finger style phrase. So thumb on the A string, index finger on the B string, G string with my thumb, and that's 4 E and. So that measure will be 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and. Okay, next measure is pretty easy. It's just a G chord, and it's just a straight up strumming. I pluck, well, on 1 I pluck, pinch with my thumb and fingers the low E, G, and B strings on 1, and then on 2 and 3 and 4 and I just have 8 notes strumming. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, from there we move to a D chord, and it's just a little finger picking pattern to round out this intro. So you have open D string with an 8th note, and then B string, index finger, 16th note, thumb, G string, high string with a middle finger, then index finger, B string, back to the open D string, make it down to a sus4 and pinch the top 2 strings, 2nd fret of the G string with your thumb, then roll down middle high E string, index finger B string, thumb open D string, and then you have back to a normal D chord, pinch the top 2 with your 2 fingers, and then let off to make a sus2, pinch it again. And the rhythm here will be this: 1, 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and. One more time, a little slower. And up to speed. Okay. So that's the whole intro. Let me play that for you. Then we'll get into just some variations. The variations are a little more tame. They come down because they're generally done over when the singer is singing, so you don't want to draw too much attention away from that, right? But here's the intro. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then that leads us into variation number 1. And what you're going to do is put a D chord on. And that's the first little lick. So just a normal open D, let off with your 2nd finger to create a D sus2. Pinch that open D string, top 2 strings with your fingers, and play that. And just hammer on to the 2nd fret to create your normal D, and do that twice. Up to speed. And on, there's a kind of a rhythmical idea that he uses, like 2, 3, 4. On the E of 4, he'll come in with that same D shape. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so it's a little syncopated thing that kind of makes the feel of the song in some spots. And then from there he goes to C add 9, but it's the one with that F sharp on top. And he hits that, pinches it, just those 3 strings. So A string, B string, and high E string. And 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and on 4. And what he does is he just puts his pinky down on the high E string, 3rd fret, pinches those same 3 strings, cuts them short, lets it back down to the 2nd fret on the and a 4, and then just goes to a normal G chord and plays 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 and a. So just on 1 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. After that, it goes to a D in the next measure, and it's a finger picking pattern, but It's a lot simpler than the other, you know, things we've done like this over the D before. It's just, okay, and that's a really good example, like standard example of what he would do over the D chord in this tune. So just a D chord, open D, B string with your first finger, high E string with your middle finger, back to the B string with your first finger, back to the open D string, and then make it sus4, both strings at the same time on top, and then 3 fingers, thumb 2, with just a normal D. Pinch that. So it'll be. And often what will happen is if he's finger picking stuff, or even if he's not, if he's strumming, he'll come back around to the progression and he'll do that again. And that's exactly what variation 2 does. So 1 E and 2 E, and then this time it's a little more involved, it's a little busier. So 3 E and a 4 E, and all I'm doing is pinching D sus4 on 3 E, and then an and for the rest of the measure. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. All right, then move to a C add 9, and this time I'm doing just this 2-finger version. So I'm only using the again the A string and the top 2 thinnest string. So just pinch those, and the 1, 2, and on 3 and 4 and. Okay, so just pinky down on the 3rd fret, 3, and pinky off, open high E string. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and. Okay. Next measure is just strumming a G chord 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then the last little finger picking pattern. And you don't have to play these exactly. Do whatever you feel, you know, get to know where the chords are and get the coordinations you have, and just come up with your own stuff too. But here, I'll play the pattern for you, and then I'll break down what's going on. Okay, so what I'm doing is just putting a D chord on, thumb, D string, index, B string, thumb, G string, middle finger, high E string, so, and then back to index finger on the B string. And that's kind of the finger picking part as far as individual notes. And then you have a pinched D chord that's cut short, and then a D sus4 that's cut short, and then back to a D that's not cut short. And then I just go with thumb and index finger on the B string for the next 8th note, and then sus2 chord, D sus2 chord, all 3 fingers. But slowly. Okay, a little bit faster. All right, so let me play the entire variation number 2 for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can just go back into the. Just mixing up all of the variations we've done so far, and that's the way you get through the song. So what I'm going to do now is play through part of the song for you. It's a 6-minute long song, so I don't want you to sit here and have to watch me play variations on this the entire time. I'll probably play like 2 minutes of it. I'll go through and I'll play the intro, then the 2 variations, and then I'll improvise a little bit on these variations, and then I'll do just the strumming in case you're a beginner and you want to see how the strumming feels. But feel free to download Jam Track and get really progressive with it. Start with a simple strumming to get the chords down and the rhythm of the song, and then dig into the fingerstyle parts and put those in as you learn them. All right, that's it for this one. This one, again, it can be as easy or as complicated as you want to make it. If you want to go full fingerstyle, learn the intro note for note, and then the variations, come up with your own variations. But if all you can do right now is D, C, and G with quarter notes, so that's cool too. If you have any questions on this song or just guitar in general, feel free to send us an email to support@guitarfam.com. We'd love to hear from you. And if you haven't yet, again, go to guitarfam.com, create your complimentary account, and schedule that first personal, private, complimentary one-on-one lesson with me. You can book it right there on the site. Thanks a lot. See you later.